So I have my computer, but my camera's not great.
That's okay.
Um,
This looks fine.
this looks okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm on my phone right now.
Is that going to be okay for you?
Yeah. Let me
Okay.
just put it on do not disturb.
Yeah, we in a pandemic. It's okay. However we get on, however we connect. Look, you got me right in the middle of my Marvin Gaye session. I was over here jamming out.
I could hear.
Greetings and salutations. You are tuned in to Milkshake Scholar Season 2. I am your host, Randy Winston. And on today's episode, I am excited. I'm very excited. And it's a privilege and an honor. That makes sense to have on my good friend, an educator, writer, and someone who I love talking to about books and writing, Carmen Devina. What's up?
Hey Randy, how you doing?
It's been a while. I was
Yes.
thinking, I was thinking, when was the last time I saw you in person? And now I'm getting old because I remember what we were doing. I do not remember when it happened. I
Okay.
was it
When's
was
the last one that you have? The last meeting you have?
it was the Brooklyn Book Festival. You came to that panel that I was moderating. Was that,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it was either the book panel or when we met downtown. I
Yo,
can't remember which one happened last.
yes, you came to my friend Yadon's performance with,
Yep.
oh man, it was for Olio. Yo, for Tahimba Jess. And oh yeah, because that was when you met Jason Reynolds.
I mean, I saw him. I didn't meet him, but I was a little too nervous to actually say hi. Like that. I think that would have been, I don't know if I would have survived that, but I did see him. He was like 3 feet away.
Oh my
And you were
goodness.
like, that's Jason. And I was like, we can't
Yeah. I'm
talk.
I'm just like, listen, once outside open back up, like I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening. But if you ever free, I'm just gonna start hitting you up, be like, yo, Carmen, I'm going to this thing. You wanna come? Like, yo, Carmen, I'm going to this event. You wanna come? Because I usually get into some fun literary events. So
That's the
yeah.
goal. I love that. I love that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So what's up? How's life? How's the family?
Family's good. God bless. Life is interesting. Running a school during a pandemic is very interesting endeavor,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah. What's been I mean, I talk to a lot of the folks that we know as well as like other friends I know who work in schools. What's been one of the most challenging things that you've had to deal with?
Um, I mean, we just have to have a lot more patience and compassion for everything because like everybody is hold on for a second. I don't know if
No,
my
that's
Wi-Fi is
that's me.
working. That's you?
Uh-huh. I'm about to cut it back on. Let's see. All right, there we go.
You
You
good? You
can
said
you could just keep talking because it's gonna do that once or twice. I don't know why it's doing that, but you know what, Carmen, I'm just gonna invest in a very expensive web camera and just call it a day.
got it. No worries.
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
so no, what I was saying was I think the hardest part has just been being super flexible to things that happen just because nobody's experienced this before. People are trying to figure out, how to run their lives during a pandemic. And so things that we might have been a little bit more stringent on in the past, like, people having random appointments and it's not always super convenient, but we also know life's not super convenient right now. So that's been tricky in terms of the actual schooling. Online learning is really hard and students their Zoom name might pop up, but you actually have no idea if they're literally there. Or and so you call on a kid and they don't answer. even though their name is there. And then they
Mhm.
come back and be like, sorry, I went to get a snack. It's like, you missed the whole lecture, dude. Or like you're looking at them and they're on camera, but their eyes are looking above and you see lights flashing and you're like, they're clearly watching television right now. But that's cool. So we're doing the hybrid thing. We've been open since November. And gradually more kids come back.
Mhm.
And that honestly has like helped keep me afloat. I think if we were 100% remote all the time, I don't know if I'd still be in a good place right now. The hybrid actually helps me feel better about this whole thing.
Yeah. I'm still remote. I haven't been on a train since we shut down last March. And
Dang.
yeah, I haven't been on a train since March 2020. We're still remote. We're probably going to be remote till fall starts, or at least that's what I'm hearing right now. So it's weird. It's really weird. I will say the one thing, and we're in two different spaces. So my work is different from yours. And I think the one thing that remote has, that's been challenging for me is not being able to build relationships with people, because I started in my office a month before the pandemic started. So I was just telling my boss the other day, I pretty much since I've been with you, it's been online pretty much.
Mm.
So it's weird. It's like we're in that sense. I will say, oh, Carmen, there is something truly special about leaving a meeting at 1:30, like a Zoom meeting at 1:30, and just going and making some lunch and going for a walk and picking up my laundry. There's something I cannot do that when I'm in Manhattan. I can't do that. Or like I'll leave a Zoom and I'll face my mom's FaceTiming me. So I'm like, yo, what's up, mom? Da, 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 and watch TV for lunch or whatever. So I don't know. But there are definitely challenges. And I think the thing that I keep coming back to is I cannot believe this happened. And like maybe not the infrastructure falling apart and our government just being totally aloof, but I think the part that I'm really still trying to grasp is like the way we've been living for this past year is just unimaginable. So yeah. Talk to me about books. So like we connect on a lot of things when we were working together, but the one thing that we really, 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 really connected on was books. And I had the privilege of working with Aspen on their books for this awards cycle that they're on right now. And there are so many books out there, and I've been like that whole thing really got me reading again, because when the pandemic first started, I was not reading. So now I'm like reading. And I'm like, man, and I think I sent you a picture of one of the books I had been reading. I was like, yo, Carmen, you gotta read that.
Yeah, I know. I still have to get it.
It's tough though. I'm sure you like. Have you? Well, first tell me. Have you like had some like? Do you have capacity to read right now? Is that something that you've been interested in during all of this?
Well, last year, like this time last year, I just went like crazy with reading. So I was able to get through 40 books last year. And the biggest reason for that was because with the pandemic, everything shutting down, my friends and I joined this New York subway challenge where you had to walk or run the miles of the subway. I think it was like 264 miles that we had to do between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called myself trying to run then, but it didn't really happen. So I did mostly walking,
Yeah.
but I did audiobooks. And so I did so what I do is I do an audio book while I was walking, and then I'd have a physical book when I was home.
Ooh,
So at
Carmen,
any given point in time, yes.
tell me. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to get this before you continue. Does, in your opinion, because I haven't really gotten into audiobooks, does it matter the voice of the narrator for those audiobooks? Does that matter to you?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. There have been books that I have abandoned. There have been audiobooks that I have abandoned because I could not stand the way that the actor sounded.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there have been other, like, I've only abandoned, I would say, maybe one or two books because of the actor, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I've been listening to a lot of books on, I have an audio book subscription. And so like I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And I was listening to one and I was just like, this woman sounds really familiar. And I went and I looked up her name, and she had been the actress for like 5 audiobooks that had been my favorite. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And different authors too. Cause you know how sometimes authors, if they'll try to get the same actress to do their book, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, she had been like spanning YA, she had spanned like all these different ones. And I was just like, oh, that's why I really like her voice. I don't know. But yeah. Cause then
Wait, do
also
you remember
sometimes
her name?
I can look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of what was the last book I read, or one of the books that I read by her. Nicola Yoon, who's a YA author, she uses her for a lot of her books.
Okay.
But I think it was the book. Oh no, it was The Sun Is Also a Star. That was the book that I was listening to.
You know what this reminds me of? I was listening to, I'm about to nerd out. I was listening to a Radio Lab podcast a couple years ago. It was like 2015. And they are doing a live recording. And it was in New York. It was one of their live recordings. And they're reading short stories. And this is the only thing I remember. Like, if you say, Randy, what was the name of the guy who read the short story that you love? I cannot tell you. And this is why I'm a huge X-Men fanatic, and I only remember him as Sabretooth. And so it's the guy. It's Liev. Liev is Liev, I believe, and I hope I didn't butcher that. But he was reading Italo Calvino's short story, Distance to the Moon, or Distance of the Moon. And it was my first time ever hearing about Italo Calvino. And after that, I mean, he did such a great job. It's one of the most beautiful readings I've ever heard in my life.
Sabretooth? Look, you don't have to nerd out. Like I'm Marvel all day, I'm X-Men all day, I'm DC. Like all of that is like, that is a part of me.
Yeah.
That people don't know about until like they try to like bring something up. And
it was the guy that in X-Men Origins Wolverine, he was his brother, or like his like his partner, his best friend.
Yeah.
And I know it's Liv, but anyway, it was just so beautiful, and I was just reminded of why, like, how important it is that someone who, like, whoever's reading or narrating, like, your words, do such a great job at that, because yeah, or they can even bring new life to it. And it was just so beautiful. And then after that, I just went down a Italo Calvino rabbit hole, and yeah, the rest is history.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. But so you're reading audiobooks, and like, what do you think? Like, is that now your go-to, or do you still like to have the physical copy in your hand?
Well, actually, I mean, we live in New York, and space is it's a hot commodity, especially, you know, in my little apartment. So I've been investing in, so I did a couple of things. I did the audiobooks. I also have been doing getting books from the library, but I'm reading them on my Kindle. So getting ebooks from the library and reading them on my Kindle has also been the biggest thing for me. And the Kindle, because I have a cover, it does feel like I'm holding something that is like a book and you turn it like a book. But no, I mean, hands down, the physical books are always going to be my favorite. And I would do this. I have books that people have either purchased for me or that I got on my own, and borrow it on, I'll borrow the ebook and read it on my Kindle because it's just like if they're hardback, it's just easier to get around with.
Okay.
But I still like having the book.
Carmen, you probably know this about me. I'm not someone who likes to share books, and what'll end up happening, and she's probably watching this, but one of my homegirls from grad school, she gave me a copy of Citizen by Claudia Rankine. It was This is how new it was. It was still in plastic. It was in plastic. I haven't seen a brand new book in plastic in years. This book is in plastic. And I'm like, oh, you got that new Claudia Rankine? And she's like, yeah, I'm so excited to read it, but I have a lot of other stuff that I'm reading. And of course, we were doing workshops at the time. And I'm like, she was like, you can read it if you want to. And I was like, nah, you know how I am about books. And she's like, here, I'll get it back. I work with you. And like, we literally work next to each other in the office. I was like, all right, Carmen. I took that book home. I wrote all in that book.
Oh
I posted that book on Instagram like it was mine. I still have it. I ain't never gave it back. So when people are like, yo, you want to trade books? I'm like, trade. I'll take yours. You won't get it back, and I'm not giving you mine. I can buy I've gotten to a point now where if there's a book I want you to read, like you, Carmen, I want you to read, I will buy it for you. Like, Carmen, give me an address, I'll send it to you. But I'm not letting you hold my book. Nope, 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 nope.
That is so funny. I just posted about this like the other day, yesterday maybe, that we went into lockdown on March 13th. So a big thing. I'm the academic dean at the school, and but I taught literature at the middle school level for a really long time, and so that's where my heart lies. Getting books in kids' hands is like my favorite thing in the world, and so I'm finally at a point now where I haven't taught. I've been in the position so long I haven't taught any of the kids who I see right now, which is kind of weird for me. But I try to make connection to certain kids at different times. And so there's this little girl, Mia, who's like the sweetest thing in the world. And last year, right before lockdown, I have tons of books in my office, all YA. If I make a connection, I'm gonna say, I think this is a book that you might like. And we kind of build the relationship that way. So Mia got a book for me right before we went into lockdown. And she stayed in remote longer. Her and her sister just started coming back to school last week. And I came to my office and there was a book that said "From Mia." And I was like, it's been a year.
Did you remember that she had it?
No.
See, that's why we taking people's books, because they don't get it.
No, I remember when adults have my books though, Randy, because because this is what I do. Most of my books are hardback, right? So they usually have the dust cover on there. If you're borrowing a book, you ain't getting the dust cover, because like whatever damage you do, I want to be able to cover it up and like nobody can see it. Yeah. So I'll have the dust covers in my library where the book was.
Wow.
So this summer I was like, where is American Marriage?
You are next level.
Marriage? I was like, and I'm texting people. I'm like, yo, do you have an American Marriage? They're like, no. I was like, the dust cover here, the book is not. Where is this book? It took me like 2 months to figure out who actually had it.
Wow. See, Carmen, that feeling when you first realize that it's not, something isn't where it's supposed to be. There's a film that I was taking a film as literature course, and there was a book that came with that course, and it, in my opinion, it was one of the best books on film to literature and literature to film. And I showed it to a friend of mine who's heavy in the film industry, and he was like, yo, this is the book that everyone's been talking about. And so in my books, I usually write in the margins. And the professor who taught the class, shout out to Dr. Nooms, he he was just brilliant in how he broke down these texts and how like these two mediums are so separate, and so you watch how those stories transform when they move and they shift to the other to the other medium. And so I'm writing down all of his notes, taking like all these notes, and then people are in class and we're having these great conversations and watching these brilliant films. And then I can't remember what happened. I just know that I was at two of my friends' houses, and it was like two guys who are like my brothers, and we're talking film, and I have the book with me, and they're like, "Oh, one of them's like, can I hold it?" And I'll make sure I give it back to you. And I still don't have that book back. And I gotta tell you, that's the one book in my life that I'm still like to this day. I always ask when I go over one of their houses, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure?
Right.
And he's like, no, this one's mine. And I'll look through it. And I'm like, all right, there's no writing in the margins because one of them have a copy. So I'm still hoping that book turns up. I want that book back. I don't want a new one. I want the one that I
Right. You
wrote in.
want that one?
Yeah.
100%. I have one really quick, really sad story.
Uh-oh.
So it was 2012. I was leaving Miami, Florida. I'd lived and taught there for 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and I was leaving Miami, Florida, and coming to New York. So I I hired movers. I hired a moving company. They came. I was 24 at the time.
Mm.
And so I just wasn't planning my life right. So we get there, it's like I have a flight that is supposed to leave at 5. The movers were supposed to be there by 10. They didn't get there till 2. So I called my neighbor and I said, listen, I have to go. I have to catch my flight, but these movers just got here. And so she came, she was like, I got you. I'll make sure everything gets to where it is, whatever. I get home, whatever, do DC, come to New York, movers get there, everything in there. I'm like, where's my mattress? They're like, there was no mattress. I said, I definitely had a mattress. They're like, there was no mattress. I was like, okay, we're not, this is ridiculous. Then I was like, I'm pretty sure there were 9 boxes here. I only see 8. And he was like, no, it's 8. It's only 8. I was like, I'm pretty sure there was 9. I remember 9. He's like, no, there's only 8. And he shows me this paperwork and he's like, counted. He could have like made a little circle there. I was like, I'm pretty sure there was 9 boxes, but his paperwork says 8. Fine. Randy, I will say probably like a month later, I shoot up in the middle of the night. And I was like, wait a second. Because I took a while to unpack. I didn't have a mattress. I was in New York for the first time. I didn't know anyone in the city. I was completely by myself. I was like, this is good. So I took a very, very long time to unpack. I would shoot up in the middle of the night, go into my bedroom, and I'm like, no way. I'm looking through boxes and I'm like, no way, no way, no way. Randy, the box that was missing was the box that had every book that I had ever owned from middle school through college.
Carmen, who we got to pull up on? What's the name of the company?
Listen, I can't even tell you. Randy, I called my parents at 2 a.m. sobbing uncontrollably. They were like, what is going on? I was like, my books. I was screaming. I was like, my books, my book. Every single book I'd ever owned from middle school through college gone.
See, see, Carmen. Let me tell you something, Carmen. This a little thing about me. I feel like we learn a lot about each other every time we talk. I'm gonna just tell you something right now, Carmen. I ain't never been in jail. I got books in the living room that people can observe and pick up off the shelf, and that's fine. But they're in the living room because if they take them, I am okay with that. But Carmen, in my bedroom, I have a bookshelf and then I have a special stack that sits next to my desk. And those are my special books. And I'm telling you right now, Carmen, they are positioned in such a way that if you touch it, I know you touched it. And if
Right.
any of those books come up missing, I ain't even calling and texting you. I'm pulling up to your house. I'm pulling up to your house.
Right.
Where is my Morgan Jerkins? Where is my James Baldwin? Where is my Toni Morrison? I don't even care if it was yours. It's mine. It was at my house. Like, I got a bluest eye from Toni Morrison. I'm not gonna say who I took it from. He knows if he's watching, but he gave it to me in good faith that I would give it back. And I'm trying to tell you right now, Carmen, Carmen, I have never purchased a Toni Morrison book because my mentors would always give me Toni Morrison. And so this guy did not give it to me. He let me borrow it. And, you know, I'm sitting in his office and he hands it to me. And my first thought was, he ain't getting this back. He ain't getting this
He
back.
didn't even know.
He was
He
like
didn't
that.
even know.
He was like, this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite books, and it's my only copy. So I do want it back. And I was like, okay, he ain't getting this back.
He didn't even know.
I think I'm gonna just start a collection of this shouldn't be mine books.
Right, stolen books.
But I oh my god, yeah, that bedroom collection. And then I shouldn't be saying this, but I have a collection of books, and the only person that knows about this is my boy E.10. But I'll say it. I'm just not going to tell you what books. Carmen, I have a collection of books that I call the Mouse Pad collection.
The Mouse Pad. Okay.
And they're books that were that I've picked up from literary events, like for free, or books that I've purchased in a store that are terrible. And what I do, they're usually hardcover. And what I do is I will use them as the mouse pad for my Magic Mouse, my Apple Magic Mouse. And the Mouse Pad collection. It's a beautiful collection, and they always look beautiful. Like some terrible books that are published are given gorgeous covers. For some reason, people it's right to make this story give it a beautiful book cover. And so
people buy books based off of covers often. So he's like, this looks real good. Let me pick this up.
Yeah.
And then just get bamboozled.
That's true. And now I only, and we can talk about this too. This is something that I do. I only buy books if they're recommended to me, if I'm doing an assignment and I need the book and I need it in a hurry and I can't wait on the publicist to send it, or if it's something that speaks to me. But I used to be someone who would go into a store and we'll see the cover and like, oh, that's beautiful, and like read the side jacket. Now I'll do all of that, and then I'll go online, and if I'm in the bookstore, I don't mind. I'll sit there and read a person's essay online to see if it's the type of writing that I like before I purchase it. So yeah, because books are expensive.
Yes, they are.
There's a lot of books out there, and time is of the essence. Time is not. My time is important to me, and I want to make sure I'm not wasting it. So, yeah, the Mousepad collection is real. It's real. Speaking. Oh, what's one book that you would say over the past year you've read and you're like, oh, this is special to you? And everyone has their own book, but what's one that really spoke to you this past year?
I don't know if I read it this year. I might have read it like fall 2019, to be honest, but it's a book that I keep coming back to. And so I'm also in two book clubs.
Look at you.
So I have one that I call my Jewish girls book club, because I got invited by a coworker. Everybody in the group pretty much is Jewish except for me. And so I was a little nervous and a little apprehensive in the beginning, but they're amazing. And we read everything in that group. And then I have my own which is just me and all my girlfriends, and we only read authors by women of color or people of color. It could be, anyone, but they just have to be authors of color. But one book that I read that I cannot stop, when I think about it, I was like, it's just such a compelling story. It was There. I think the author is Orange.
Yeah.
Right. I love books that the authors have multiple perspectives. Because being a, baby writer myself,
Whatever.
do
baby
that?
writer. Whatever.
I'm a baby writer, Randy. Don't make me blush. I'm a baby writer. But I'm just like, how can you keep track of 13 different minds and then have them all connect? It's just an amazing thing for me to see. And Tommy Orange and There. It was also about a culture that we don't know a lot about as Americans, and we should. And just the richness of Native American culture and how they still, how they keep it alive, but then also all the struggles with it. I just thought it was so good. And that is one that I continuously go back to.
I have it on my shelf, and I haven't read it yet, but hearing you talk about it, I need to push it up the reading list. Carmen, since you like multiple POVs, you should also read, if you haven't, These Ghosts Are Family by Maisie Card. I think you would absolutely.
These Ghosts Are Family.
Yeah, it is so good. It is so good.
Oh yeah, that's the book from the event.
Yes. It's really good, and that speaks to the fact that I'm mentioning it after an event, because sometimes people pump up a book and they don't really like it, but they'll say, "Nah, that book, she was in her bag. That book is good." Also, that one that we shared, or I shared with you a couple weeks ago, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Deisha Filia. That book is one of the best books I've ever read. Oof, that book is so.
I'm so excited to read that one.
I mean, Carmen, I was reading the first 2 pages and I had to put the book down. It was the first. It was the first 5 pages, because it was the first essay, and the way she connects with those characters and those feelings in that world, coming from the South, I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is my book. So I cannot wait for you to read it and then hear what you think about it, because I know, knowing you, I know you're gonna love both of those books so much.
I'm excited for sure.
Talk a little bit about the newsletter that you started, and I know that it's connected to your writing as you progress in your writing career. So tell everybody about this newsletter that you got working.
Yeah. So last 2020, everybody had a lot of high hopes for 2020 in the beginning, right? And then it actually happened. But during that time of being in quarantine, it wasn't also just the quarantine. The country was also having a reckoning as it related to the relations between, Black and brown people and everyone else in this country, and the police brutality. And I was having a reckoning of my own, where how I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, which we humbly call Pretty Girl County. But it's also it's for a long time, I'm not sure if they still have this title, but for the longest, it was the wealthiest Black county in the country. And so how I grew up was very different from because what I saw, my parents had a nice house. Everybody in my neighborhood was Black or brown. So for me, it was just kind of oh, this, as a kid, yeah, this is normal, right? And then I went to school in the South. And I was like, I called my mom and she was just like, Carmen, like you have to recognize where you are. And so, or what the world is, it's just different. But during this reckoning of the country and the world, I was also coming to a place of like, there are a lot of things that as an educator, lessons that I had taught to Black and Brown students that I believed would help them succeed were also just like very limiting. And working against who we are as authentic people and trying to essentially silence it and squash it. And I had to come to terms with that, what I had done in the last like 10 plus years of being in this work. And it really came to a head when I was seeing everything else that was happening in the country. So I was reading We Want to Do More Than Survive by Bettina Love. And she started talking about this idea of home place, which is an idea that she borrowed from Bell Hooks. And essentially like home place is that part is where you feel like you can truly be your authentic self, where you don't have to, posture or, put on airs for anybody else around you. And you're loving and enjoying who you are. And that idea spoke so much to me, and how I wanted to start my writing was really I wanted to work through all these ideas and things that were coming to life for me. Like, who am I as an educator, and how am I really helping students? Am I helping students and families by having these limited beliefs? How can I change that if I want to start doing it now? What the heck is happening in the world, and how am I processing it, and what are some questions that I think we need to consider and think about? So that's really where it started. That's where it came from. And I called it Home Place because it was authentically me. I was the audience I was thinking about. Anybody can read it, but I was just thinking about, I know I'm not the only person having these thoughts and these questions.
Yeah.
But this is my home place, my area where I can kind of work it out and grow and learn. And so yeah, Home Place. It's a beautiful, beautiful project, and it really got me writing regularly, thinking about different things and helping me process.
What's been one thing you've learned about yourself during the process?
Just that I have like my authentic voice, my authentic being is enough, and that now I need to go into spaces unapologetically being who I am.
Yeah.
And if I'm accepted, great. If I'm not, that space isn't for me, and I can leave it and detach from it and actually be okay. And so that through this work has been the biggest lesson for me. Because I used to be, this strong loyalist. It's like, I'm here, I'm committed, and I gotta stick it out. I can't just leave. I can't just walk away. Like, even if it's not fulfilling me anymore, maybe I'm not trying hard enough. But now I'm like, listen to that voice, because that voice is real and it's coming from someplace. Listen to it. Don't run away from it. And if you have to detach, you go and do that. But you don't. If I'm ever feeling like I can't be unapologetically my own self, then I probably shouldn't be there.
I like that. I like that way of thinking. What's a topic that you enjoy but haven't written about yet? Like, when you're journaling or when you're working on a newsletter, what's something that you're like, oh, I love this, but you haven't gotten to it yet?
I don't know if I love it. I think I need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And put it out there. But I mean, when I say the topic, it kind of connects as to why I haven't written it yet. But imposter syndrome.
Okay.
That is especially like let's go back to before in the earlier part of the conversation, me saying I'm a baby writer and you being like,
Right.
wait, what's going on, right?
You in here. You writing.
But as I work on, my first project, my first, actual
Call it
novel,
what it is.
my first novel,
There you go.
it's like the first I would say 5,000 words. I was like, this is so much fun. I love this. Like, woo, look at me writing. And as it started inching up, there's just crazy thoughts started coming in. It's like, who do you think you are? What are you doing? Like, this doesn't sound right. You don't even know all the grammar rules. How can you sit out here? Like, does that period go after that quotation mark? All of those things, right? But in this process, I've also been following a lot of Black creatives.
Yeah.
And what I have found is the narrative is the same. Like, for me, some of my who are my loves. So a writing professor I had told me before I started to put a stack of books of my inspiration, or who I want, people who I kind of want to emulate in terms of like their influence, or like who people I'm just like, yes, that's when I think about my writing, I want to have that kind of impact. And so I have like a stack of books on my desk. One of them being Nick Stone. Like, one, I wish Nick Stone and I could be best friends, because I just think she's an amazing person. And her Instagram, if you don't follow her, she even if you're not a writer, like, her Instagram is amazing.
Right.
But like, she has moments where she's talking about, this is really, really hard. She had one night where she, I guess she had a deadline, and she was just posting on her stories, like, come get me. She even put out, she was like, I will pay someone to finish this book. Like, DM me, call me up. I can't do it. And she's like in a dark room. And I was just like, this is beautiful. I love this. But everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Black creatives, especially, because we're trying to create in a space and go into a world that like really didn't want to hear from us. Didn't want us to believe that we actually had stories to tell that people would care about.
Right.
And so I'm fighting it every day. And I want to do a piece in home place where I'm just like processing it. I don't know if there's a part of me that thinks I need to come from the other side of it, because I'm in a bit of a block right now. But I think I actually just need to do the newsletter, and then maybe we'll get somewhere after that. But that is a topic that is in my head right now that it needs to be handled.
You brought up something where you were talking about right about getting to the other side of it. And recently I've been thinking about, because I've been in a bit of a block myself, and I'm like, well, maybe I could just stay here, or maybe just write about that, like write about what it feels like to be in it. And we all go through it. Everyone goes through it. It's a part of the process. And whether it's one day or 1 year or 3 years or whatever the case may be, there are ways out of it. I think and we've talked about this many times before, but everyone's process is different, and how people cope with those obstacles and conflicts that they're dealing with to get their book done are different. But yeah, I think you embrace it, honestly. The pressure is like, how do I get out of this? That's the pressure. For at least for me, it is. It's like, man, how do I get out of this? And I think once I just let go of like trying to figure out how, and just embrace it, I'm all right, cool. All right, I don't have it today. Great. What else do I want to do? Because I'm a human being, and maybe today just ain't for me. So, and I do that a lot. I do that a lot too, where I'm just like, all right, I was trying to write today, but clearly this sentence that I've been sitting on for three hours ain't hitting. So I'm
Right.
just gonna walk away from this, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. So,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about, like, because your process is continuing to evolve. Like every time we talk, it's just gonna keep evolving, and I'm excited about that path for you. So
Yeah. It's been fun. I've been I joined, I signed up for masterclass, and so I've been watching video. It's interesting. My boyfriend was like, there was some special, and he's like, we should do it. And I was like, I looked at who was there, and I said, there's nobody I really want to. I'm getting into writing. There's nobody I really want to see on here right now. That I was looking for Black creatives, right? And in the time that I joined, I mean, everybody made a masterclass at this point, and so recently Roxanne Gay had one. And I was so excited. But one thing that she said on there that I've been holding on to was, you don't have to be brave to be a writer. You just have to admit that you're terrified and do it anyway. And I was just like, boom, that's it. That's going on my corkboard. That's going on my mirror in the morning.
right.
Like that's
you know,
that's the mood I'm going on right now.
I love that. I'm gonna plug my boy Yadon Israel. He said something to me that resonated, and this was back in, I think it was 2019, 2018. He we were at an event, and him and I talk about writing literally all the time. And he says to me, like, "Oh, I figured out what's wrong with what you're working on." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "We need to know who the narrator is speaking to." And I'm like, "The reader, like the type of reader?" He was like, no. Like, who are you? Like, you as the writer, who are you writing to? Because that's who the narrator is speaking to. Um, and so I realized that, narrator's writing to his mother, and then that connection back to me, and it just made the writing so much more clear, to the point now where even if I'm writing an essay, I just ask myself, who is the person that I envision reading this, and that's who I write. That's who I'm writing to. And it's been very, very helpful for me to get out of funks, because then the language changes, the perspective, like everything changes, because it's like, all right, I'm not trying to get other people to understand what I'm saying. I'm trying, I know if he reads it, or if she reads it, or if they read it, immediately they'll know what I'm talking about. So, and so that's what's been helping me. So shout out to him for helping me with that. Oh, before I get you out of here, I have one more thing I want to discuss. And it is the song that plays during the opening credits of your biopic.
So I've been surrounded by music my whole life. My father is a musician.
I didn't know that.
Musician.
I didn't know
he's a jazz musician.
A jazz musician.
Yes, he is a jazz drummer.
Wow. Okay.
But at the same time, and I was actually my best friend. I was talking to her about it. People always laugh at me because we'll be in a grocery store, at a restaurant, and like, they have this like background music, or in a doctor's office, random songs. And I know a lot of music. And I'll just be like, Carmen, you know every song. And they're like, how do you know this song? And I was like, I don't know. I just know it. And I just think it was because my parents surrounded us with a lot of different types of music. And so there was one radio station, I think it was a smooth jazz station, that my parents used to always listen to.
Love smooth jazz. Love it.
Yeah. And there was a song that would come on a lot when I was like, I would have to say probably 6 is the earliest memories that I have of it. 6 years old. And it was Gotta Be by Des'ree. And And I can because I'm here babysitting my nephews now, and one of them, I think he just turned 7. I can imagine what it sounded like to have 6-year-old niece belting this song at the top of her lungs, like all the time. But I loved this song, and I love the message behind it. It's like, you got to be strong, you got to be wiser, love will save the day. And it literally, like, you could write it out and it would be like a mantra that you could say to yourself to get you going for the rest of your day.
Yeah.
I used to sing it all the time, to the point where I think I was 13 or 14. And for Christmas, I opened and I have a CD, and it's Desiree. It's her whole album. And I'm just like, what? And my mom's like, you've always loved that song. And I saw the CD in the store, and I thought, well, let me get her the CD. So I feel like, because my biopic would be definitely talking about, it'd be similar to Home Place. Like, how do we, how have I grown? How have I, gotten through a lot of difficult and hard times? And I think Desiree, You Gotta Be would be the song, because
Do
it
you know?
really just helps me think about it.
Do you know where your biopic will start?
Yeah. You mean like when the screen opens up and you're finding me? Where is
Yeah.
it gonna be?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be in my old house. We had a lake. No, it wasn't a lake. It was a pond. It was man-made, but it was kind of the center of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And every Saturday morning, it's beautiful because you don't really see this anymore. But I would wake up, watch Saturday morning cartoons, eat my Eggo waffles, then get on my bike, and my parents wouldn't see me until dinner time. Because all the neighborhood kids, we would all get out on our bikes, go to this. It was like a pond, and then like there, woods with a bike path, multiple playgrounds, but we just had the entire neighborhood. And so I feel like it would start with us on our bikes in front of the pond, throwing food at ducks, because that's literally how I spent every Saturday morning for probably the first 14 years of my life.
See, Carmen, I knew you were brave. I would never throw food at ducks, because them jokers. I've seen ducks attack people, and I don't want ducks and geese.
Our ducks were nice. They loved it.
I was you just reminded me of when I was traveling and I was in London and some geese pulled up, and I was like, yeah, it's time to go. It's time.
No, you don't mess with geese though. No, geese are dirty. Mm-mm.
I respect their territory, and I don't want no problems. I don't want none.
Mm-mm.
Carmen, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad I was able to get you on this and we could chop it up for a little bit.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
we talk all the time offline, like, on social media. So I'm glad I was able to get you on for a little bit.
No, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah. Once outside opens up, for those that don't know, we in New York City, we still, we're still inside in a
Yeah.
We're inside for the most part, unless you got to go to work. So, but once the outside opens up, we gotta chop it up in person.
For sure.
And then once them events start coming back, we in there.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Good to see you, sis.
Good to see you.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Oh, wait, we can't leave. You got to plug your stuff. Let people know where they can get the newsletter. Where can they sign up?
So if you find me, I think the easiest way to find my newsletter would be through my Instagram, Carmen at Carmen Devina, Devina, Carmen Devina. And then there it has the link to my newsletter called Home Place. You can also go through Substack. If you search Home Place, Carmen Devina, it'll pop up there. But I think the Instagram is probably the easiest way to get connected.
Talking about she a baby, got a Substack and everything, guys.
I try.
All right, sis. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Randy.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
See ya.